Tara's starting to come around in this one. She'd been seizing for about half an hour. We had an ambulance on the way. Who's that? Is that you? What was happening?
Seizure.
So Tara was having anywhere from 65 to 200 seizures every day. I can remember one time it happening in the car where one of the older kids have gone, "Oh, Tara's blue, Mum," and looking back and having to scoop her out of the car and just say to the kids, "It's okay, it's all right, Mum's just going to wake her up," and putting her in the back of the car, trying to not let them see what was going on.
I first met Tara when she was 3 years of age, and by then she already had the diagnosis of catastrophic epilepsy of infancy. Her IQ was just being thumped into nothing by the condition and by the medication. So it wasn't just that they were dealing with a sick child, they were dealing with a child who was actually becoming sicker and sicker and sicker. And they knew that sooner or later she would die of this.
Yeah, in 2012 we were told that's it, there's no more medications to try. She's tried them all. Her brain function's so low, her IQ's now too low to score. Take her home and love her and, you know, pray to God that something changes. But, you know, we were basically told to prepare a funeral. We needed answers and we didn't have time to wait.
Prior to meeting Tara and her family, I had never heard of or come across the use of marijuana in childhood epilepsy. They recognise that it's not legal for me to be involved in that. So because of the lack of efficacy of all the medication, they went searching on the net to see what else was available.
Our biggest concern was the law. We were not concerned about it not working or you know, what it would do to her, whether it would get her high, which it doesn't. They were not concerned because she was already high on all the other medications. She was already dying. We couldn't make the situation any worse.
I first started using when I was a teenager. Well, I was a commercial grower on the other side of the law, I suppose you could say, yeah. That's basically what I made me living out of most of my life. I haven't sold cannabis commercially for some 7 or 8 years or more, yeah.
We weren't overly worried because it was done in the US. You know, there's hundreds of children in the US using medical cannabis. So the very first day that Tara took this, she went down to about 10 seizures rather than 65 plus. We thought it was just a fluke, thought we were imagining it, but as the days went on, the seizures got less and less. About 10 days after she started it, she stopped having seizures. That lasted for 55 days before she had 1 seizure. That was in April 2013, and she hasn't had one since.
It was miraculous. I was absolutely bowled over because not only was Tara seizure-free, but suddenly the family is functioning as a family and not just focused on Tara's epilepsy. She's on a very small dose of marijuana in a liquid form, and I'm not aware of any side effects. In fact, quite the reverse. For the very first time, she's now potty trained in a way that just simply wasn't possible to do before. She's now talking better, she's walking better. I see nothing but positive.
There's a good chance that, well, not a good chance, but there is a chance that I could go to jail for 2 years. The business itself wouldn't be affected. It'd be these children's lives that would be affected, you know, because the business doesn't make any money. It is just a name on the front, you know. It doesn't own anything. It's just these kids and these people's lives that would be affected.
How many more are waiting?
Oh, 10 to 20,000 or something.
What's in it for you? Why do it?
Oh, one day that'll come out. You know, it's not the money. You know, not interested in that.
There's no motivations in the legalisation to then become some sort of like wealthy businessman for yourself?
No, I want to blend back into Uluru somewhere in a bus out there with where nobody knows me maybe. Mate, I'm not interested in the money. It's no good to me. What do I want? A pair of shoes? No, I don't wear them.
At the moment, pending that court case, Tara still has a supply of her medication, as do the other 150 children also being supplied by this same company. And I would regard it as an absolute tragedy if we had to go back to the treatments which completely failed to work for her.
If he does do jail time, I have no doubt whatsoever that Tara will die.
There's growing evidence in these segments, but it still remains quite controversial in the medical literature and in the research fraternity about the various benefits. And we really don't know what the long-term consequences of these medications, both from will the drug maintain its benefit to the patient, and is it safe in a long-term sense. There's potential for great variation between each individual batch that's being made, and what that means is very difficult to say because it may have more beneficial or more negative effects each time, we don't know.
I think the time has come to address issues like this. This has only been spoken about in back alleyways, in back rooms and behind closed doors for cancer patients and those that are terminally ill. And what I've heard and seen, then certainly it has led me to the position where I am now to try to decriminalise small amounts of cannabis for medicinal purposes. We're seeing families access illegally cannabis now. People are doing it now. What we need to do is try to give them some confidence and give them some peace of mind that if this bill does pass, then they will not be breaking the law.
I know nothing about this medication, in fact, and really do not feel able to comment upon long-term effects. All I know is that for the last 14 months we've had a miracle, and this child has gone from disabled and the whole family focused on her illness to a normal family and a normal child. I don't believe that conventional pharmaceutical medicine has all the answers, and I'm very open to there being other solutions to problems.
We were told that it was very unlikely that she would see her 9th birthday, and in fact that it was probable that she wouldn't see that Christmas the following year. But we've seen Christmas, and now we're celebrating her 9th birthday, and she's healthier than I've ever seen her. Okay, maybe it was a fluke, you know. You could say that if it was a month, if it was 2 months, but we're now 14 months seizure free. I don't know of any Dravet child who could just fluke 14 months seizure free. You know, from hundreds and hundreds of seizures a day, you know, down to 0.